The Maverick is definitely a compact truck. It's got a pretty small footprint compared to something like the Ranger or the F-150, while still giving pretty good capability all at the same time. This one has the available Tremor package. It's got the XLT luxury package, the sunroof on the inside, and a few other niceties that really add to the value of the truck, but also increase the price. So you could save yourself a couple bucks by stripping it down and going with just the XLT, but all of the extras might make this thing worth it if you're looking for something that's a bit more off-road capable than just the regular Maverick. Typically, the Maverick XLT is going to have 17-inch aluminum wheels, but inside of the Tremor pack, you have the same 17-inch wheel, but it's this beautiful dark aluminum instead, with a Ford cap that's black and then a nice orange highlight along part of the wheel as well. It just pops. On top of that, you've got some Wild Peak all-terrain tires instead of the traditional rubber that would come on there. Drivetrain is going to be the same for 23 to 24. You're looking at front-wheel drive inside of the hybrid, and then that moves to Ford's intelligent four-wheel drive system. What do you get inside of the 2-liter turbocharged engine? And then the suspension system in the regular Maverick is good, but the Tremor just kicks it up a notch. It's off-road tuned suspension that you're going to get inside of this thing. On top of that, it's got a 4-wheel drive lock, and it's also got a rear locking differential. And that's just something that takes the off-road capability of this thing up a notch or two, especially compared to something even just like the FX4 package. So if your plan is to really take your Maverick off-road, the Tremor pack is probably something to look at for all of the extra stuff that you get inside of it. I love all of the orange contrasted highlights here, and especially as you move into the front end, because the grille has this nice orange highlight that wraps all the way through. Down low, there are 2 tow hooks, and then you've got the bash plates because this is the Tremor off-road pack. The Maverick is meant to be more of a base level truck, an entry level truck. So it's not going to have some of the front end technology you'll find in some other Ford vehicles. Like it's never going to have a 360 camera or forward sensing system. So for that, you'd have to look at the 2024 Ranger or an F-150 to be able to get those options. But underneath the hood, you've got the same 2 engine choices that were available for the 2023 model, with the 2-liter turbo now being the standard choice, whereas the 2.5-liter hybrid was the standard in previous years. Power-wise, though, there is a huge difference between them. Inside of the 2.5-liter hybrid, it's got a combined horsepower torque rating, so it's 191 horsepower and 155 pound-feet of torque, which is okay. The 2-liter, though, pushes out an impressive 250 horsepower and 277 pound-feet of torque. So if power is your thing, the 2-liter is the way to go, but you can't get this thing available as a hybrid with the 2-liter, so you're strictly looking at the 2.5. The Ford warranty is pretty solid. So your basic warranty is a 4-year, 36,000 mile or 60,000 kilometer. And then the powertrain is going to be a 5-year, 60,000 mile, 100,000 kilometers, which is pretty respectable. And then you can get all sorts of different maintenance plans and things like that at time of ordering if you'd like to as well. The back end of the Maverick is pretty basic. Now, while you're not going to find the reverse sensing system in anything but the Lariat trim level, you will find a backup camera here regardless. On top of that, this thing has the 4-pin wiring harness and then the regular receiver. Looking at towing inside the Maverick, when you get into the 2.5-liter hybrid, you're maxing out at 2,000 pound towing. Inside of the 2-liter, you're technically maxing out at 4,000 pounds when you get the 4K tow package. But this thing has the available Tremor package, which means that you're maxing out towing-wise at 2,000 pounds. So there is no flexibility of getting the Tremor pack and the 4K tow package. You're essentially looking at one or the other. So you have to ask yourself, do you need to tow more? Or do you want something that's more off-road capable? Because one of the other nice things about that off-road package, so the Tremor package, is that you do have a full-size spare tire that's located just underneath the vehicle. And then you can easily get into the bed of this thing. And this one has the available modular drop-in bed liner. So you could go this route from the factory, and then you can also do a spray-in from the factory or aftermarket. Honestly, I prefer the spray-in liner, and my personal recommendation is doing it through Onyx aftermarket. It's about twice as thick as the factory spray-in liner, and it also comes with a lifetime warranty. But having the modular drop-in is also kind of neat because you can replace individual parts if you need to. It's pretty solid. Now, inside of the Maverick, you're only looking at a 4.5-foot bed. So there's no option for this thing to get a 5, 6 foot, whatever the case may be. You're looking at going for the Ranger if you needed something a little bit bigger, or the F-150 as an option. Payload is also a little bit tricky to figure out. But in a nutshell, so the Maverick is going to have max payload. So it's anywhere between 1,200 pounds and 1,500 pounds maximum. So you're 1,200 pounds if you have the Tremor package, 1,500 pounds maximum otherwise. But that's going to depend on the rest of the configuration of your truck. Because while this thing technically does have max payload of 1,200 pounds, the yellow door sticker has it stated at 1,139 pounds. So you're going to be a little bit under what the max payload is just because of how this thing's spec'd out. Because everything, like your little bed liner, every other option you add on is going to have a net weight, which is going to take away from your max allowable payload. So that's something you have to take into account when you're figuring out how you should spec the truck. Along the left-hand side, you've got a little light switch that controls not only the LED bed lighting in the back, but also along the very top there too, which is kind of nice. And that bed lighting, not available in the XL, so your XLT or Lariat to get it. There's also a 400-watt wall plug in the back. And then along the passenger side, there's a little storage cubby with a 20-pound weight limit on the inside there. So if you wanted to store some things off to the side, you'd have the flexibility to be able to do it. Now, this one doesn't have a tonneau cover, but you've got a lot of options available too. There's a soft rolling, hard rolling, tri-fold hardtop. You can cap this thing out. And then one really cool thing, I was at the Toronto Auto Show and they had a Maverick set up with a tent. I was like, oh, this is so cool. And I had to try it because I'm 6 feet tall. And this thing is a 4.5-foot bed, but even with me being as tall as I am, I could still fit inside of that tent and like technically could just throw an air mattress back here and sleep, which is kind of cool. You're definitely not looking at getting a queen back there, but a twin, definitely doable with that tent, I think is pretty cool. So if you are going off-road, you could at least sleep in your truck if you wanted to stay a little bit safer. Filling up fuel inside of the Maverick is just along the driver's side in the 2-liter unlocked cover with a capless system with anti-siphon technology built in. And the minimum manufacturer's recommendation is just regular 87 octane, but it's 87 plus. Because the horsepower and torque specs that are achieved under the hood are all done using a 94 octane. You don't need to use it though, just regular 87, so regular gas is all you need to put inside of this thing. If you want the best possible performance, pretty much into that 2-liter specifically, you're going to want to look at a 91 octane if it's in the budget. You definitely don't need to do it. Taking a peek along the driver's door. So this thing has a nice glossy black mirror cap with the blind spot monitoring system. So if somebody's entered the blind spot on either side, that's going to highlight. This thing also used to have the 5-digit number pad so you can get inside if you've ever locked your keys in or if you don't have your key fob on you, whatever the case may be. That's now not available from the factory for the 2024 model. So it is available, you just have to do it as a dealer installed option instead. But hopping inside. So unchanged on the interior here from 23 to 24, your basic unlock lock buttons, window and side view mirror controls, basic bottle storage down there, and then part of the 6-speaker audio setup. On the inside, you've got a control for your bed lighting. If your Maverick has bed lighting, if not, that button just wouldn't be there. Figure out what's going on with your running lamps, and then you can increase or decrease the brightness of the cluster screen as well. If you ever need to get under the hood, just pull in twice to make that happen. The steering wheel of this thing is manual telescoping. And then these are the rubber trays that you're going to get right from the factory. So the factory Maverick liners, which I think those things look solid. The seat, Tremor badge, things look beautiful. I love that orange stitching that follows through. It just looks great. This thing does have a power seat because of the XLT luxury package. So you can go forwards, backwards, up and down with it. You can adjust your backrest, and then there's also 2-way lumbar support on top of that. But, hopping inside. All right, so seat, I'm going to drop down as far as it'll go. And up overhead, a little tight, 3-ish, maybe 3.5 inches of headspace. So it's not a big vehicle on the inside by any stretch, but I said I'm 6 feet. So if you're like 6'3", 6'4", you'll probably be able to sit in this car. And the seat, it is pretty comfortable. It's nice. You're only going to get cloth seats inside of the XLT trim level. So you're looking at ActiveX inside of the Lariat. But I mean, the seats here are still pretty nice. Now, looking at XLT, or the XL, I guess, yeah, and XLT, it's going to be a regular keyed start on the inside there. Nice and simple. I like that. This is good. And this one does have, so you've got your cruise control system there, but there is the option for the adaptive cruise control system as well. But if you want to walk through on the steering wheel buttons, going through the cluster screen or the Sync 3 infotainment system, you'll find those walkthroughs down in the description of this video. But straightforward. Volume rockers, answer hang up on a phone call.
Phone voice assistant requires a connected phone.
Okay, so one thing to point out. So inside of the regular sync system that we're looking at in the XLT, this is for a button to, if you've got your phone connected, so to activate your Google or Siri assistant. Inside of the Sync 3 system, it would give you options for using factory navigation and a few other things. So this screen doesn't have factory nav unless you're in the Lariat trim level of the vehicle. But you can still hook up through iPhones or Androids for Google Maps, Apple Maps, or Waze using a wired connection. So you just plug in USB that way. You've got a volume rocker, tuning rocker, auto start stop system. So that's the one that's going to kill power to the engine if you're stopped for an extended period of time. And this one has the base audio system. Whether you go for the upgraded system or not is a matter of preference. If you're just looking for a good radio or audio system, the base speaker system is good. It's just that you will notice a difference if you back-to-back jumped between the XLT and the Lariat trim levels. Night and day difference, but still pretty solid at the same time. So I want you to listen to the audio here. And this is coming right out of the microphone, so there's no post-processing done whatsoever.
Never gonna make it. They want me to do something that can make sense. But hey, when I keep dreaming I'll be famous. But I don't give a f*** how they keep chasing. They tell me that I'm never gonna make it. They want me to do something that can make it.
I mean, it's a little bit more bass heavy, but I mean, at the same time, the audio inside of this thing is good. Hold on, I gotta check. Oh, that's why. I'm like, why is it so bass heavy? Whoever was in this thing last had this thing maxed out. So ideally you're this, and then something like this with bass cranked a little bit. That's typically what I find to be a pretty good setup. So let's go back in. Yeah. That's a big difference.
I get rid of the devils. They think that I am a rebel. I think they want me to settle. There's nobody on my level.
Yeah, so that's the way to go for sure. You don't want to crank your bass like any car. It just muffles out the audio. So cranking your bass by a couple points generally gives you a pretty good audio. But tons of sources available, AM, FM, Bluetooth, Sirius XM would be available in the Sync 3 system, but not in this one. But if you had your phone connected and that phone app there, you could stream it that way instead. Moving down, you've only got single zone climate control, but there is the option for heated first row seats in this thing and a heated steering wheel. And the heated steering wheel, heated pretty much all the way around, which is great. You've got two USB power points, so USB, USB Type-C, or USB-C, USB Type-A. There's a 12-volt power point there. This thing does technically have the option for the wireless charge pad in the Lariat trim level. We've got some basic cup holders there, park reverse neutral drive, and the backup camera. Visibility isn't too bad there at all. And there's a dedicated low gear. Now, this thing has an electronic parking brake, and then because this thing is the Tremor, you've got a few additional cluster modes, or drive modes, I should say. So there's normal, tow, slippery, mud ruts, and then sand. So each mode is going to do something different, going to play with your traction control, stability control. But inside of the Tremor, there's going to be a four-wheel drive lock. You've got the electronic locking rear differential as well. So you've got some different buttons that are available strictly in the Tremor package. But that four-wheel drive lock is useful. So is that electronic locking rear diff. Auto hold settings there, hill descent control, toggle your traction control system on or off. The armrest inside of this thing, non-lockable, and there's nothing inside. Just a decent amount of storage, get like half wrist deep, which is impressive. Shooting over, this thing has good visibility throughout. It's nice, and even the pillar along the side there doesn't create too much of a blind spot, which is good. XLT does have a manual dimming rear view mirror with some basic cabin control lights. And then this is going to be a control for your little sunroof. So you could vent it out, and then you can't open it up until you close the vent, and then you can pop it open from there. So single button press opens it up most of the way. Secondary button press, that lasts a little inch. And then that, got a little bug guard. That's nice. I had to show out that blue again. That looks really damn nice. It's great. And single button press is going to close it the full way. So that's as big as the sunroof's going to get inside of this thing. You don't have the full panoramic sunroof like what you're going to find inside of the Escape. Same setup as the Bronco Sport though, which this thing is based off of the same platform, so that makes sense. Up overhead from there, I did mention, so your cabin controls, you've got your little visor with a little receipt holder on the inside, no lights on the vanity mirror there, and then this thing extends out, blocking most of the sun that might be hitting your face. But like overall, the style of the Maverick is good. I just noticed the little cubby on the top there. But yeah, the overall style inside of this thing is good. The comfort and the seat is definitely there. It's nice that it's got the heated seats as an option, but you're never going to find ventilated seats regardless of the trim level of the vehicle that you're in. But I got to set the seat up. I think that's pretty close. There we go. So with the seat set up this way, the way that I would traditionally drive, inside of the second row, I've got a good amount of knee space, great amount of foot space, and up overhead, with me sitting fully upright, 3.5, 4-ish inches of head space, which is pretty solid. So good amount of space back here. Not quite as wide of a vehicle though. So could you fit 3 full-size versions of me back here? Yes, but SOL for the person who's stuck in the middle seat, because there's a little hump. So kind of spreading in order to be able to, yeah. So somebody taller like me, it'd be very, very tight for this middle seat. The middle seat it's not comfortable by any stretch. Roughly the same amount of headspace though, which is good. But yeah, I wouldn't want to get stuck in that middle seat. But one nice thing is that you do have anchor points as well. There's tethers behind the seat that I'll show you in just a second. There are some cup holders that are built right into the seat. On the passenger side, there's a handle and a hook, and that's the same with the driver's side as well. There's also a little light up overhead. And then one other difference is that the manual sliding rear window is no longer available in the 2024 Maverick. So that's been stripped out completely, so you're essentially stuck with just a naked window in the back there. Not too bad. It's just a smaller truck anyways, but other things to point out. Same basic style highlights along the door with a little bit of bottle storage. There's no pocket along the driver's side, but you will find one on the passenger side there. Just in behind the armrest. No vent controls, but you do have 2 USB power points. So there's a USB-C, USB Type-A, and then a 400-watt wall plug back there as well. That's really it. This is the thermoplastic rubber tray as well that you're going to find from the factory. So it just sits in there nicely. So you could do that aftermarket WeatherTech, but I mean the factory liner looks solid. Now, a few things to point out about the seat. So this thing along the top, there's a little release. It's got a tab. You're going to pull that tab in order to drop down. And you can see there's the jack. So you've got the jack there, and then there's the spare tire located just underneath the vehicle. So if for whatever reason, let's say you're off-roading, you pop a tire, puncture a tire, you need help, you could change the tire out yourself if you wanted to. But, well, I mean, you need help. You've got access to Ford roadside assistance as a Ford owner. So it's an 800 number, and it's tied to the same length as the powertrain warranty. So 5 years, 60,000 miles, 100,000 kilometers. And you call an 800 number, they can come out and help you with changing a tire, if you need gas, if you need winching services, battery jump starts, and a few other things. So it's a pretty useful feature if you ever do need it. So a benefit of being a Ford owner, or you could just change the tire out yourself. You do have the top tether points there, available across all 3 seats. And then you can see there's a tab release on both driver passenger sides, so you can pull in order to show a little bit of floor. Oh, there's a little white spigot. So white spigot, if you ever need to fill up using a jerry can, you're using that thing first. But there's a good amount of under-seat storage there. Solid. And then this thing is locked up into place until you pull the tab on either side. And down she goes. Well, the powertrains for the Maverick are the same from the 2023 to the 2024 model. So you're either going to have the 2-liter turbo or the 2.5-liter hybrid. If you were to ask me, I would personally go for the 2-liter turbo because I'm a bigger fan of power. But that 2.5-liter hybrid, it's a traditional hybrid. But if you're the type of person where you prefer better fuel economy, that's probably going to be the way that you want to go instead. The fuel economy is noticeably better from the 2.5 to the 2-liter. Not a big jump, but enough that it might make sense for you to look at the couple $100 more to look at the hybrid. But the downside of the hybrid is that you can't get the 4K tow package, and you also are not able to get the Tremor package as well. So whether you go for the hybrid or the 2-liter, it ultimately is going to depend on what your needs are out of the truck. That's pretty solid. Nice. I like it. Oh, that's great. That is smooth. I mean, obviously the camera's flopping around like crazy right now, but that is smooth. Damn. Like I was going over every bump that I'm like even kind of going off-road a little bit right now with the one tire. But this thing is nice. And that was a look at the 2024 Ford Maverick XLT in the beautiful Atlas Blue Metallic. You can find a build link for this truck, all the tech walkthrough videos, and the contact details for Formula Ford down in the description. But if you found this video useful, share it and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Until I see you next time, take care. Traditional rubber that would come on there. Drivetrain.